Good day, bushies! To Grand Teton National Park. Grand Teton has a long and rich history. 500 million years ago, these were seabeds. And then we had a volcanic activity up until 10 million years ago. Bushies, we're actually at the base of a fault line here. So this is still a process continuing today. We have subduction of one plate, so the valley we're in is actually getting lower and then pushing up the mountains even higher. The Tetons are pretty spectacular. Grand Teton, which is before me, actually raises 4,199 meters in the sky. These mountain ranges were formed less than 10 million years ago, making them one of the youngest mountain ranges in the world. Behind me is Les Trois Tetons, or in French meaning the three breasts, which was named by French fur trappers in the 1800s. French fur trappers, which is where a lot of the names come from. And this is clear evidence of what they would trap: the fur of beavers. 11,000 years ago, we have the first Native American Indians walking through this land. Jenny was one of the first Native American Indians. I don't think her name was Jenny, but that's what's been put in the history books. And this lake was named in honor of her and her husband, who were part of the fur trappers that were the next wave of migration here in the Grand Teton Plains. Shortly after, dude ranchers which were trying to recreate cowboy lifestyles for those who actually didn't grow up on the western plains. And it actually then took, in the 1850s, 50 years of conservation efforts to finally make this a national park in the early 1900s. So there's remains of a glacier. In the last 40 years, 15 to 25% of that glacier has melted. Bushies, of the 1,500 grizzly bears that reside in the 48 southern states, 700 of them can be found within the Grand Teton and Greater Yellowstone National Park. I am hoping we don't run into any. I do have some bear spray on me, but this is evidence of bear scratching. It's at the right height. Both grizzlies and black bears live in this park. Let's back it up.
No, we can't. They're wild. This is not the zoo.
Oh, angels.
Get over here.
Welcome to Mormons Row. In 1862, the federal government promised 160 acres to anyone who would cultivate the land. I say anyone, but really, it was white men and not married women, as the clause specified. But by the 1950s, all of the Mormon community was moved out as this land became national park. They moved to nearby communities, but the structures and the buildings still remain of a legacy of a time when you could live amongst these plains. Can you imagine? Bushies just behind me, I think is what we have, is called a chinchilla, a native to these amazing grasslands. I'm here at the National Museum of Fine Art in Wyoming. Behind me is the beautiful gray wolf. They were eradicated from the park through poachers and hunters, but have recently been reintroduced and are thriving. In fact, they've shaped the ecosystem so trees that weren't growing in places are now growing due to the deer and the elk being controlled. Pretty amazing part of the ecosystem. Refuges play an important part in this landscape. As mentioned, it took 50 years for conservation to happen. It's great places like this exist for the 8,000 elk that make their way through the migratory plains of the North and South Teton ranges.